Okay, well, good evening and welcome everyone to Wedmore Parish Council meeting on Wednesday the 19th of June 2019. Any apologies for absence?
Yes, Chairman. Judy Candy, Suzanne Metters and David Huxtable.
Reports from County and District. There's no David tonight, so Polly.
Thank you, Chair. Right, so since our last meeting we've had the full annual council done at Sedgemoor. Yeah, that has happened. So I went through the leader, deputy chair, vices of all the committees. I am officially the chairman of the Licensing and General Purposes Committee, which is quite exciting because I was the vice, and yeah, it's good to take that on, so it's a bit more of a responsibility. What else have I been up to? Lots. It's extraordinary how many inquiries I've had since the last elections. Maybe some people didn't know what I did, but the phone has been ringing constantly, so which is great. So sorting out lots of different issues within the village and the community. I've had down at Sedgemoor a special meeting of the Grants and Awards Subcommittee, which is another one I sit on. I was on that before, and we considered the revised criteria of project grants. So working out, lots of people. So what we really like on the grants is to have individuals coming to us for money for sporting activities, so maybe kids or scouts or whatever, but it can be other sort of clubs. But what we're trying to work out is, you can't keep coming back to us, so we're trying to work out how we can make that work better. Had a good highways meeting last week with other parish council members, sorting out things in the village, which you'll all find out about. Axbury Drainage Board, still on that, hooray. We talked about health and safety update, finance reports, subcommittee updates, engineering reports, Sunset Rivers Authority update. Drainage Board do amazing things, so it's really important. And I volunteered to sit on the environmental committee for all three combined drainage boards. Obviously there are other things going on in the village, particularly Cobb Lane, but everyone has something to say about that, but we are on it, trying to sort things out. I think that's pretty much it for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
With, in respect of people ringing you now, is there a common theme that people are talking to, anything that
yes,
keeps
generally.
cropping up?
So, the chairman of the governors was trying to chase up his 106 money. I was hoping Karen would be here tonight, so I could ask him about that. Houses being hit by trucks, so traffic, things happening on building sites, road closures, very much used. So the Mark Road closures by, so it's Hart Road and Kingsway. And I was asked to sort of say to people at school time, so in the morning and in the afternoon at pick up, if people could avoid Wedmore, Mark first, so going through the middle of, Mark, at those sorts of times it would really help, because they're trying to get the parents to pick up from, approaching from one way and driving off the other, so they can keep the traffic going. So they did sort of put out a plea to me to say, can everyone kind of avoid it if they can. I wanted me to put it in the Wedmore News, but it's not going to work. So yeah, mainly traffic issues and things about, well, actually funny enough, we've got, I think, a telecommunications company here. Lots of things about road closures and, why can't it be traffic lights and why do the roads have to be closed, and the chaos with people doing kids doing A-levels and GCSEs. So, yeah, lots of sort of community issues, and it's really good to be able to help people and call them back and get on with it.
Right. Okay, and the reason Ben obviously here tonight from Clear is to give their side of the story with regard to those items,
which will be great.
You can get your chance to speak out on that, Ben. Okay, thank you. To receive any outstanding acceptance declarations of office.
I think the only one is Dennis Browers, Chairman. I was asked to sign the declaration book. Can we work?
Welcome, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Just stop there, please.
Just here?
Yeah. Legal. Thank you very much.
Okay, to record any declarations of interest.
None that I'm aware of.
Minutes of the meeting and the annual meeting held on the 15th of May.
They've been circulated, Chairman. I have no comments on these.
you. Public participation. We have no one else due. Item 7, matters arising.
A couple of things. First of all, the disabled access out here. It was put before the Parish Council Planning Committee a couple of weeks ago, and they agreed to support it, of course. And we're now waiting a decision from Sedgemoor.
Do you know when that is due?
I think it's due probably next week.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're running a bit behind at Sedgemoor at the moment. They've got a lot of agency staff in there looking at planning applications, so people's names I haven't heard of before, so it may be a couple of weeks longer than that.
Okay, update on the internal refurb. The kitchenette area and the heaters, the works to these council rooms are going to be started on the 24th, Monday.
Mondays,
yeah, for the heaters. I'll bring it up now. There was a delay in starting the works due to asbestos found within the building. We had a report, as you know, we had a report done. There were some areas that were highlighted to contain asbestos, one being a storage heater and some external items. We dealt with it. The asbestos is gone. So we had a company come in early part of the week, and it's all been eradicated from the internal workings of the building. No one was at risk previously, and obviously no one's at risk now, so it's all been dealt with. You can see the costings involved with gaining the report and getting the items removed. The company that did the report is now going to update the register so it'll be kept with the building, so any future works, which there will be, there's some roofing sheets that are asbestos, but we'll look at that and put it on the agenda for the next finance meeting to look at it and review whatever we need to review or to remove, and we'll go from there. So it's been dealt with anyway. So item C, update on the speed indicator devices.
Dennis.
You, Dennis?
Yeah, I do that. I just think these out. I wouldn't like to think I've been on holiday and haven't been busy.
Very busy. We'll get some more
I'll
cartridges.
just go over now. I'm not expecting a very short presentation. And then these, if you want to pick one of these up afterwards, I'll just leave them here. Also,
No, yeah.
Okay, so in this document here, just a quick update, it mentions two things. It mentions the auto speed watch, which I haven't attached, but it's here. It also mentions the schedule for doing it, for the actual program, which is here. Now, we've actually got the equipment. It arrived about yesterday or the day before, and I'm putting it all together. It took 6 weeks to come, unfortunately, and I'm actually ploughing through the computerized side of it. It's kind of slightly complicated, but what we do is we'll install it according to this program, which I have, which I'll do an update and put in the minutes. And when it's installed, every week I'll be out there downloading the data. So we'll start off, basically, as I said there, we'll start off with it actually not showing anything, so you'll just see a box. But that will be recording the speeds, the number of cars that are... That'll give us a baseline. And then we'll switch it on, and it will basically pick up cars that are 2 miles per hour, 3 miles, whatever we set, over the speed limit, record them, and we'll have a complete database of that. Okay, and then we'll move it around. Okay, so it's quite a long project. This is a whole year's worth. So it's going to be ongoing. We've only got the one, but we'll see how we go on that. But I've also picked up this thing called Auto Speed Watch, which I'd like you to have a look at. Could be very useful. And I've summarised it in the write-up. In that write-up, I've summarised it by saying what it is effectively is a camera. If you turn over the page, you'll see a picture. The picture's worth 1,000 words. It's a camera, and it's driven, powered by the sun. So it only works in daylight hours, obviously, it's a camera. But it has automatic number plate recognition. And that will pick up all vehicles at all speeds, or you do select it. But what's interesting about that one is I can download that data through the internet, through the cloud, as they say. and that will actually pick up repeat offenders actually with the number. So what it does, it replaces the 3 or 4 people standing with guns and yellow jackets and trying to get the number down quickly and getting it wrong sometimes. The key to this actually is that the Avon and Somerset Police will accept it. And so we've been in touch with them, and I've been talking to the inventor of this piece of kit. And in fact, well, you're the one that circulated this to me originally. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because it has to go to the commissioner to make sure that it's legal that you can use automatic number plate recognition. But I'm pretty sure that next week we're going to get that approval, which means within a week or two, if we chase the police, we should get approval for that. And what that means is that the data that comes off that, for persistent speed, for the cars that are persistently over, that can be fed to the police, and they can then write to them. And then they can do targeted police traps. They don't call it that, they call it monitoring or something. Or traffic enforcement, whatever, speed traps. Now, the cost of it I've put out there, and it's not much actually, so for the first 5 years, it would work out £137 a year. And that includes all the data and everything. It doesn't include time, we do it free, of course. And then after that, it'd be about £80, £84 a year, if you wanted to keep it up. So perhaps you might read it and see what you think, because I think it actually is very good, because there are other parishes as well looking at this across, certainly Somerset at the moment, and Gloucester. But you can link in with the others, so all the data can go in. So if someone's speeding through the whole area, they get picked up. So I think it's quite a neat idea.
Sounds great.
It's very accurate.
We currently,
And it's very cheap, I think.
currently there is a persistent speeder
Yeah, this would
throughout the village, and the social media that's been ongoing for the last couple of weeks is a guy going around, and he's going to really cause an accident. So this bit of kit would actually help.
Well, I think it would be quite good actually.
Yeah.
It's not terribly expensive. So
How robust is this?
well,
Would it be permanent? Cause,
you can move it around.
yeah, because I mean, looking at it, it's the type of thing that would be
Damaged.
scrapped. Yeah.
Yeah, well the cost of it's in there. We put it at a height that is not reachable. We padlock it as well. I mean the unit which I'm putting up now for the SID is pretty heavy, but I'm padlocking that as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean it is possibly going to be damaged. Whether our insurance will cover that, I don't know. We have a sign to go with it if you had this, just to tell people it's automatic number plate recognition. Obviously we can't take action against people. But the information is really valuable because it's not only the number plate, it's the speed and the time. And of course we have the place. So,
Sorry, where did you say the data was being stored?
the data goes up in the cloud,
Does,
and then we down it onto our computer. I can
so
down
we're
it.
paying for a service?
Yeah, well, that whole service comes to £84 a year, which actually is pretty good because
Okay, so we're not having to secure the data?
no. And if you read the whole thing, I've written it out, and it's quite hopefully self-explanatory, but we need obviously to have permission from the Surveillance Camera Commissioner. But that's all in hand now, I'm hoping we'll get that next week, so I didn't want you to think I've been in Italy and not that.
Enjoying yourself.
So that's really the update, and as far as this goes, we got a 2-week delay because that's what it was, but I'll update this Gantt chart just to show exactly where we're going to be. Where I am on the roads, I might rejig it because obviously if there's roadworks going on and stuff, there's no point in being there. So there's a little bit of making sure we get to those areas where we know speeding is occurring. And I have a speed gun as well, which Rod put the batteries in as well, so it works. And I'll be doing that as well, so you will see me around in a yellow jacket.
Can I just ask, did you say that data then can secure a conviction, or it's just
that data
write to them and say they've been monitored?
Yeah, that data would be the data which those people on the side of the road might collect. You know, you see them?
Yeah.
So this is actually better because when I was out actually with doing some testing, you know, I could watch the lights in people's cars, the brake lights, when they saw me with the yellow. This one, they probably won't notice it so much because it'll pick them up quite early. Then when you send that to the police, if there's a persistent speeder, they have all the information they need to actually write to that person and say, you have been caught speeding. That won't get a conviction, I don't believe.
No, it could be.
It's a number plate recognition.
Yeah,
okay. But what it means is they can target that area for their so-called speed enforcement.
No, I can't. Well, that sounds it. I really do. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Any more questions for Dennis?
No.
Great.
Well, the only thing is, if you look at that, Chair, and if you think it's worth doing, within a week or two I'll know probably if the police have accepted it. I'm pretty sure they will.
What
And
about,
actually the guy that supplies it has already given me an undertaking in writing. If we had it and the police didn't accept it, he'd give us all our money back, so it's not an
Okay.
issue. But on the other hand, while I'm out there I can be doing that as well as this,
Yeah,
so we
sure.
can do the two together.
sure. Alright, on the basis of you going out on your own, when are we looking to get some help for you? Are you going to just...
Well, I'm okay at the moment. Wife says, I married you for a lot of things, but not to be home for lunch. So she's quite happy that I go out.
Okay.
Do it. But I mean,
Want some help?
there is as you probably know, there's a one-day training course to be able to put this kit up. It's not too onerous, but we certainly could do that later. I think.
Yeah, okay.
If somebody's interested.
So why don't we put it on the agenda for next month for looking at this
So
other
there's auto.
speedboard?
Yeah.
So month's time, give everyone a chance to divulge the info and we can go from there.
I think it's a good thing to spend, I spoke to Sedgwick, we can spend some seal money on this.
Oh yes, you can do that.
It's a very good project,
Yeah.
seal money, it's a community project.
Community project.
So,
Yeah.
just a couple of £1,000 you've got some
Already come from seal money, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Alright.
The only thing which I've spent all day trying to get my little laptop to work on this SID system to go out, to get the data back. But because my laptop's a 7, it's on Windows 7, it doesn't work, you've got to have Windows 10. So if anybody's got an old laptop, Windows 10, that they don't use, or I could borrow or something, just let me know. Otherwise I'll try and get hold of a second-hand one we can use. I mean, we process it at home, but I collect the data,
Yeah.
bring it back and process it in the office at home.
Okay.
I'm still 10, I'm still running on 7.
7, well, you may not be
Yeah.
interested
Sinclair,
in later this year, Microsoft are not going to support 7 anymore.
No.
8, 10, it's all two different kinds.
70.
The
70,
SIG
yes.
devices are different to the
Oh.
auto watch devices, aren't they? The auto watch, the auto speed stuff's in the cloud, you just said.
Yes, but
And then
ours
the
is, we
SIG
take it off.
stuff, you've
I
just
download it, I download it onto a little laptop, whatever,
Okay,
take it back to the office, process the data and then produce the graphs and everything, yeah.
okay,
So-
but that doesn't hold that's...
You're on about GDPR, yeah?
Yeah.
GDPR and data security,
Yeah.
No,
that's my
because we-
fancy pants job.
We don't have any, there's no automatic number recognition on
No, we
it.
don't have that, that's
It's just a
purely
warning,
auto
yeah.
watch.
And all we'll be able to see is, compared with the benchmark of it not being switched on, to when it is switched
Yeah.
on, is seeing
Just
the
seeing the
reductions
graph,
in
yeah.
people speeding. That's what
Okay.
I will do.
Thank you.
Alright.
Just the last one, Chairman, on there, the street lamp at Munchie Road. Some of the members might not know, this is a request from a householder up there, or several householders, and the Parish Council did agree to fund a new street lamp. Unfortunately, the firm that make these Acorn ones, which are Wedmore lamps, have gone bust. They did offer us a brand new digital, which looked awful, which I declined, and we're going to wait for 2 months for another alternative supplier. So they told me it's about 2 months wait. I have told the people who've requested it, so they're fully in the loop. We're quite happy to wait.
Okay. Right, item 8, financial matters.
Yeah, the accounts have been checked by Laura Sampson and Suzanne Matthews. They do balance against the penny. All the bills have been paid this month. Nothing else to report on that, Chairman.
Okay. Anyone any questions with what's been paid out? Item 9, we were due an update from Harry from Acorn, Cross Farm Development. Unfortunately, due to family commitments, Harry can't make it tonight, so he will be due to meet us next month. Holly,
Can I just fill you in on a little bit?
please do.
I bumped into one of the guys I've met with Harry before as I was taking the dog out this afternoon down on Coombatch at the house the Tinkles own, about the splay on Coombatch Rise and into Coombatch. I suddenly saw lots of people with high-vis jackets, so I got down and I said, "Oh, hello, what are you up to?" And they had the highways guy there looking at it, so they should have the paperwork signed off by the end of next week to be able to sort the splay out, taking down part of that wall and making the visibility better.
Excellent.
So hopefully we're on the way with that.
Great.
And they said, they are trying to do that utmost to keep the road clear. And I had a slight issue because I've been parking my Panda down there, and I did point out to them that someone knocked on my door the other day, a lorry driver said, "Oh, is that your little red panda? I can't get my lorry out without taking your panda with me." Well, I did say to him, so had I not been in and somebody told you where to come to find me, what would you have done? Just sat there all day or taken my panda with you? Because that's an issue, and I've watched them get very close. I've parked the panda a bit further down the road now, but I did point out to these guys today that actually a lot of guys in these big lorries can't quite clear it. And if there's somebody parked there and they're not there for the day, what are you going to do about it? So they were talking about maybe they put a couple of bollards there during the day to stop people just parking in the last part of the bay before you go into Coombatch Roads. So, that's all I know.
They can't get out of the Lurburn at the moment because they're digging the sewers in, so that access can't, or exit can't be used either. So.
Yeah, it was pretty dicey because I watched sort of with my heart in my mouth thinking, oh my God, they're going to take my panda away. But luckily they didn't, so they are going to sort that out hopefully.
Okay. I was going to bring item 13 in where Harry couldn't make to Andy. Andy?
Yeah. Thank you for inviting us along. Tom sends his apologies. So I've become representing Harvest Home. I understand it was to talk to you about potentially funding some parts of it. Is that correct? So just to give you a heads up on where we are with the Harvest Home, we are moving to what's called the village field, which is the bonfire field. Yep. Moving from the old site. So to do that, before we get to the money side of it, we've had to apply for a new premises licence, a variation to our current premises licence. That's raised a number of red flags with Avon Somerset Police around, they call it Chapter 8, the Purple Guide, which was meaningless to me, so I did a bit of Google searching. Purple Guide is a guide to putting on events in your area. We've had to write chapter and verse around an event management plan for doing this. Chapter 8, I understand, and Neil probably knows more about this than I would, which is about roadworks and the placing of cones and bollards. I did question, because they're asking us to do various things and have Chapter 8 approved people directing traffic and all this sort of thing. I did say, so what happens in the event of, say, a Remembrance Sunday parade? They said, well, that's all done officially. I said, okay. So the fact that I normally stand and direct cars. Anyway, just to warn you that the police are obviously getting hotter on these sorts of things. So if they're raising stuff, we would have gone through chapter and verse for this, and I'm quite happy to share that later on once we've got full approvals on it. In terms of costs, so this is the cost of it, to move to the other field has cost us in the region of £300. One is an advert in the local press for the variation of the licence, buying the purple book, applying for the licences. There's various costs involved with that. The key one that we'd like you to consider though is whether you would put some money towards the tea for children of the parish. I haven't got the final figure, but the figure I have in mind is around £600. So if we've got 300 children there at £2 a head, that would seem the right sort of figure. I might have cut myself a bit low there. The other cost that might come in soon, which we don't know, which isn't just the Harvest Home, it's for any village event that closes off the borough, is the diversion signs. Because obviously if the police are showing interest in the diversion signs and the signage that we use around the sort of square to close things off, we need to make sure that we're up to the current standards. I think, we think we have enough, but we can't tell for sure. There's been lots of diversion signs around, so whether there's a big pile of diversion signs that are going to be in place for this, I don't know. But I would like to do a check on that one, which would involve probably you guys as well.
Chairman, and our previous councillor who was on here,
Andy Nash.
Andy Nash, he kept the storage of these.
He did. They do get lost and damaged over a period of time.
Yeah.
We haven't got a clue what they've got, so we didn't get involved.
No, we're trying to find out from Andy what they have got. And I know that we've kept some in our storage for the Harvest Home, but it does affect a number of events in the village. And I think as a village, we probably just need to make sure we're doing everything by the book.
Yeah, and I see a road closure notice in for lamplight as well as
They'll all be granted.
granted. So.
Andy's put all those through and they will be granted.
Yeah.
Do you have to go on a training course to become somebody that can close roads and things like that?
You're supposed to go on a training course for, I'm told, putting bollards out and for directing traffic. Now, there's enough people who have a Chapter 8 supervisor's card. Most of the builders around here do, and a number of others. So we're going to work on knowing what we've done in the past and knowing a few people who are supervisors. So we're not putting anyone on a course because I don't think we need to. Avon Somerset Police's stance was, well, we told you what to do properly. If you don't do it, it's on your heads. That's what she said.
This was in order to put these SIDs up, I had to be qualified under the Traffic Management Certification Scheme.
Yeah, so that's probably another chapter within that book.
Yeah. Land rewards, day course.
Yeah.
£300.
So in terms of
I can come do it for you.
I think you can stand there with your yellow jacket looking at traffic, but I'm not sure you're allowed to put bollards out. It's we'll still do the bollard putting out. We're not going to stop anything from doing it.
Chapter 8 is very heavily regulated. You've got to put the signs out within a certain meterage of one another. This is why you get a cul-de-sac, and you've got a sign at the end of a cul-de-sac 2 foot away from the gate at the end of the saying, road narrows or something. When, it's just, but it's what we do, and so I think that's
from what I understand, everything is fine until something goes wrong. And then if there's a case against someone being knocked down because the diversion sign was 2 metres in the wrong position, a solicitor will just, excuse the pun, just drive something straight through it. So our presentation to you really is any assistance with monies for children's tea would be much appreciated, and any assistance in the move to the new field that we had to do would also be appreciated, and we will take it up with Andy and the signs, and I'll email you guys about that in due course.
Yeah, because the signs were originally donated by the traders of the village.
Right.
Originally purchased I'm probably saying about 15 years ago.
Yeah. So they've been there since we've been around.
The first realm of health and safety come on board, and when it used to be done, the harvest home was someone just standing in the middle of the road and that was it. So, and it was a bit of a free for all. So.
And this is where it's just raised, because we've done this variation. Obviously, we've put our heads above the parapet, and they've gone, oh, actually, are you doing this right? Are you doing this right? Are you doing this right? So we've had questions around young adults, children, what we're doing on the roads, how we're doing the procession. We're not allowed to lead a procession. That might be one that we just we'll worry about that when the time comes, I think.
It was always remarked though from Avon and Somerset that Wedmore was always one of the better run harvest homes in the region. So
there had been a complaint about a harvest home. We haven't got to the bottom of which one it was, and that's why it raised a flag to them. We don't believe it was us. No. Because we've had nothing direct. We believe it was one of the ones that's probably closed down since. Yeah. But they saw harvest home and opened their eyes to it.
Well, it is, and everyone here that appreciates the harvest home every year. Long may it continue, and with the help of the Parish Council, I'm sure it will. So I'm after a proposal, really. So okay.
This is a fabulous tradition. A lot of these things stop going, so we definitely need to support it, and I'd like to propose that we support it with £800.
I'd like to second that.
So who's that? Thank you.
Yeah, we do have 2 other occasions in the parish
that we do.
Yeah. I just.
Perhaps they'd like to apply.
Well, I mean, I was just suggesting that there are 2 other public occasions. Theo has its flower show. Bradford has a harvest home.
We do that. We already donate to Theo anyway.
We always support Theo.
Right.
But I haven't heard from Blackford.
So,
no, I mean, well, that's fine. But I just sort of make the observation.
And Chairman, it's another good project for a sill money. The money comes from the developers. It's got to be used for a community project. I mean, what better than a harvest home?
No, sure.
I do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
We haven't agreed yet.
Sorry.
Right. I just want to say I'm surprised that you're asking it for the children's teas, because 5 years ago that actually made money.
We don't charge for general parish.
We don't charge for children.
We do charge adults. The harvest home this year, if bluntly, if it's not a success this year, That's it for the Wedmore Harvest Home. We have zero money left. We've not been taking any money over the bar for the last 30 years, and we need to revamp what we're doing.
You are taking money over the bar this
We are doing our own bar, so we've had there's been there's a lot of change this year. It's a lot of hard work going on with the committee to make the change happen. We need to do it, otherwise, as I say, this is the last one. And that's not trying to make it bigger. It's just we have no finances left.
I think the fact that you've not had any money from the bar for 30 years is, you know, it's good. It's good that it's ended.
I could spend another 2 hours discussing this. I have my own views on this. So, we vote any other proposals?
No.
All in favour of Polly's proposal?
If somebody could
I'll say
email,
again then, thank you very much.
if you could email me the bank details, I can pay it by backs immediately this week. You know.
We'll do that, yes, I'll get them over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've got your email address, haven't we, I assume?
Indeed.
Is it through the invite, yeah.
Wedmore Parish Council at gmail.com.
Thank you.
Alright. Okay, we'll revert to item 10. To receive an update from Ben Stevens, Gigaclear. Ben, stand still.
Hiya.
Sorry, can I be very rude and disappear to my other meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Ben, you've listened to me, I will listen to you, sorry.
Don't worry about
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, so the main reason I'm here is because a couple of weeks ago we managed to cut through the BT line on Cheddar Road, and so I'm just here to say how sorry we are. It's of no comfort to the residents who were cut off from their phone and internet for about 24 hours, but it was because the BT line was laid too low, I think because of too high, thank you, too close to the surface. But I think possibly because of the way the road is on the levels where it's obviously liable to subsidence, that might be the reason. I don't know the details for sure. All I can say is that it was too close to the surface, and so when our contractors were cutting down the road to lay our cables, they just ran straight into it. And unfortunately that happens occasionally in places, particularly where the infrastructure is quite old. But yeah, as I say, obviously it's of no comfort to the residents who were cut off, but I did just want to make sure I could hear your concerns. I'm also reminded that it's worth pointing out that we did move that road closure to try and facilitate some children being able to access their GCSE exams. So we were aware of that particular issue that you raised earlier, so thank you for that. But if there are other things that you spot that we can do to help like that, then by all means let us know. And the final thing, before I shut up and take questions and bricks, is just to say I know there are a couple of other people who tried to get hold of me because I guess they got their contact number from someone outside office hours, and unless I'm going to a parish council meeting, I don't work outside office hours. But I did want to bring these along. These have got a 24-hour helpline on it, so if anything like that happens again, or if residents have any questions or concerns during the build and it's outside office hours, then there's a phone number here that they can use as well. So I'll leave a stack of those in there.
Okay. That was going to be my first question. What's been learned from the process, and what can be done? So you've just answered that with regard to reporting any future faults.
Sure.
Because it won't be isolated, will it?
Sadly not, no.
That's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we live right there where it happened. It was literally right outside our house. My husband went outside and we were told that the digger had dug too low, the digger was set too low. And subsequently that contractor who was driving that digger was sacked, so we were told by his team. So if he wasn't at fault, why was he sacked?
I don't know. I
So
wasn't aware of anyone being
two stories from the contractors who were less than polite.
Right, well, I'm sorry to hear that as well.
Those who came out late during the weekend, because we had the whole weekend, it was from 10:30 Friday through till quite late Sunday. We actually had to ferry our daughter elsewhere to do her revision for her GCSEs. And I then spent most of the weekend redirecting traffic
because I was stood outside digging a ditch, and answering questions on social media about where the broadband had gone.
Yeah.
And every time we were asked, we were just told to speak to BT. So Gigaclear didn't really own the issue. We were just constantly pointed at BT, who did their best, and then their poor chaps came out in the pouring rain and dealt with it all.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, how are you going to be working with people whose lines that you bring down? You know, because you didn't really, Gigaclear didn't own it. You know, they just kept pointing us at BT.
I understand that, but obviously Gigaclear can't say how long it's going to take BT to repair a line once we've cut through it. That's down to BT to dictate, so I guess the most useful information would have come from BT rather than from us. But I accept the point that we probably could have done...
Communicated with BT and got that information from them also?
Yeah.
You would work with your, you know, even though that's not your...
We usually do. Who were you talking to who was being...
Well, they were the contractors.
Okay, so it was the contractors on the ground.
Who you employ who were less than polite. And then obviously when we were trying to speak to the Gigaclear telephone people, you know, the number that we picked up.
Yeah.
I think there's a helpline, there was a sign outside with a helpline on it, that's the number we rang.
Okay, yeah.
And then you get less than help, they just sort of point you at BT.
Yeah.
And then ultimately BT sort of said, well, we don't have anybody working the weekend. And then, but ultimately they did get someone working the weekend. So it was quite a lot of disruption. I think it's more disruption than you actually probably appreciate to the people like on the site and, you know, across, well, not just the parish of Wedmore, but actually further afield in Cheddar.
Yeah.
Because there was quite a few, as I'm sure you're aware, traders who were able to trade.
How much of Wedmore was affected by this?
Businesses.
A lot of Cheddar as well.
A lot of Cheddar,
Yeah, Rodney Stoke, Westbury, St Andrew as well. So.
Church Street was all right.
I don't think, sorry.
There was another part when that was happening outside Councillor Kane's house. Was over a weekend. There were obviously no traffic lights, but right on that bend, it was left closed, and our man, but with the oncoming traffic coming, and nothing to stop people chancing it and going around the bend on the wrong side of the road.
Right.
How there wasn't an accident? I mean, I stopped and thought, well, should I chance it? Well, I've got the kids in the car, that'd be ridiculous. I'll turn down towards, don't go down the dungeon and go the back way and see if I can get around that way. But there were probably people chancing it, I would imagine. Cars coming around at a normal speed. How that was not closed off for the weekend, I don't know. That was, to me, just crazy. And the other point is, you know, why don't you guys have to have traffic lights? Why are you allowed to just close roads? When in Mendip, I suppose it's down to the county council, because they seem to think you don't need to, but just closing these roads off is chaotic for people.
Isn't there some chapter
Why didn't you have the traffic lights?
Probably, I was listening in on that, but as you were finding with your own Chapter 8 issues, as you know, all the. I mean, we do whatever the county council tell us to do in terms of road closures or in terms of traffic lights.
I mean, the county council did say to me, they are entitled. His answer to me was they're entitled to work on the highway, so they can do what they like. And I just thought,
that's that's
great, but actually that's awful for the residents.
Yeah, but it's broadly true. And
as
I say, we do whatever we are told to do by the county council.
But am I right in thinking Mendip insists you use traffic lights?
No, there's no blanket rule like that. It will depend on how busy the road is, how wide the road is. I mean, at the end of the day, safety's got to be the number one concern. If we think it's unsafe because the road isn't going to be wide enough, and if the county council think it's going to be unsafe because the road isn't wide enough, then we just have to close the road.
But can you flag up why that was left open?
Yeah, no, I've made a note of that. That was, that sounds...
Thank you.
It was dangerous.
Really dangerous.
Just it may not, because it was true speed, that's not Gigaclear, is it?
No.
No, but they put cables down at Stoughton, and they put them down right on top of a brand new main that had been put down, and all the way, and if you went down now, I'm not suggesting everybody does, not all at once anyway, but if all the way along in the earth that's been moved out, and then rubble mixes and then go back in, it's full of blue notice paper that says water main. I mean, it just seems ridiculous because it's highlighted, as Joe said, when it comes, you know, that in order to get to the water pipe, you're bound to have to go through the cable. I mean, there's blue plastic all the way up which says water, water, water on it. And they dug it all up and put the thing right over the top of it for at least 500 yards. I mean, it just seems to me that there's no, you know, I mean, I said to them, I said, that's a brand new main they brought in down here and put in because a lot of water work's got to go on down to there to get water to Blackford. But, you know, it just seemed, and they just, I mean, I couldn't really, I just said to them, there's a water main there, and he just had his chart and he said, well, that's where we are, isn't it? And they just put it.
I'd be amazed if Ward's going to get permission to do that, but yeah, it doesn't sound like best practice.
You know, your groundworkers obviously are on a meterage. They'll go for the easiest ground they can to get the maximum amount of distance.
To some extent, although
which is right.
we will walk the route with our contractors before they start digging, and we'll tell them where they're going to lay it, and then we send our civils inspectors down to check they've laid it where they said they were going to lay it, because we pay them a different rate, obviously, for digging up the carriageways for going through a field, and so if they start putting stuff in the field that we're paying them for carriageway, we're losing money. So we work with them to make sure they put it where they say they're going to put it.
You see, what I don't understand is that BT do the dial a dig thing, and they lay out where the cables are, and I think everyone knows that those cables aren't necessarily laid to the depth that they should be. And having shallow cables is always a hazard. I mean, it's always, so in theory, whatever excavator is being used to go over those cables shouldn't have excavated over them at all. Should have been hand up. If they know that there's a cable directly underneath.
They don't always know that there's a cable, but yes.
Well, if there's well, they should track it, shouldn't they? Cable location devices.
They should.
And if it's shallow, of course, it will definitely show. If it's deep, it won't. But if it's shallow, it should. And with BT, I mean, if BT haven't put lines down to show where their cables are properly, then it's BT's fault. But if the lines are there, then whoever's excavated the hole, the trench, should know it's there. So it's either BT, who always deny liability, because they haven't marked it properly, and they generally do because they track them first, they pulse them down, or the contractors got it wrong. And so, and possibly yourselves for not monitoring the contractors properly. Would you not say?
I would say it sounds as though someone made a mistake, yes. Out of BT, our contractor, and us, someone's made a mistake. Correct.
So, going on from the civils walk the route and you know, plan out where they're going to dig, what happens with the sign-off once it's been reinstated? Do you get someone from County Highways to come and walk the route, or for some of the work, and I don't know if it's you guys or True Speed, some of the tarmacking is pretty ropey. The reinstatement on, certainly up on around St Menard Road. I've cycled many miles around the area just monitoring what's been reinstated. And quite frankly, it's not going to last 2 years. We have a harsh winter, those trenches will be coming out again.
Yeah, so up to 2 years in the future we're liable for the repairs. Highways eventually send someone round. I don't think they have a schedule per se, but they will over those 2 years send someone round. And if at any point you notice that reinstatement work hasn't been done properly and you report it to the Highways Authority, then they will establish who's responsible and get them to fix it.
Is there a way of GigaClear, and I'll ask the same question of True Speed when we get them in as well, with regard to you producing a plan or a map of your dig routes, so that if anyone from the parish comes to Rod and says the repair's really poor, we can go, right, that's GigaClear, rather than going 6 months down the line going, who was it?
Theoretically we can, although obviously the Highways Authority will have all that information, so all Rod needs to do is tell the Highways Authority the location of the reinstatement work that's
I just think trying to cut out the middleman, really.
I
if we knew who the contractor was.
But we can't come back and fix it until the council tells us to.
Well, we can try and circumnavigate it and try and speed up the process a little bit. Really.
I understand, but again, we can't go back and fix it until the council tells us to.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, but it'd be great to be able to say to county, right, Gigglesclear are responsible, rather than having to get a traffic, you know,
and
someone
then
out
of
from their
course,
civils department to come and view it.
yeah.
They're understaffed, they've got agency workers, not particularly interested in what's going on in, you know, in our
So we
village.
can probably give you a map, and then the alternative thing that you can do as well is follow the trench line to a house, and then in the ground there'll be one of the pots, and if it's Gigglesclear, it'll say Gigglesclear on it. If it's True Speed, I assume they label their stuff in a similar manner.
Yeah. I just
No, I understand, but
make it a little bit easier
to say
than the no blame going, it wasn't us, and you know, we're 6 months down the line and there's still a pothole, you know.
I understand.
Can I ask, are you digging in the same area as True Speed? Is there a competition for a residential area? I don't know.
Bits of the same area. Bits of the same area is the same.
Yeah, we got a letter for True Speed for it happening again outside our house in the next month.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. The letters arrived, so watch out for them.
True Speed are a competitor company, yeah.
Right, and you don't share trenches? No. So they would dig a trench next to the trench?
Well, actually, legally we're not allowed to share trenches because
so.
we're receiving government funding.
Yeah.
So we're not allowed at the present time to share any trenches or infrastructure with any other company like that.
I see. Yeah.
So have you braced yourself for them going through your cables?
Well, at the moment we've got no live customers, so no one will know.
So potentially you wouldn't know if they went through your kit?
Pretty much, yeah, until someone comes along to test it.
And then Joe, they'll have to come back again.
They'll come back again, yes.
Okay, any other business for Ben?
We'll look into the issues the specific issues that you've raised there as well.
Appreciate you coming in,
I do understand.
standing up and coming back to us. I really do. I really appreciate that. But as I say, we'll do the same process with True Speed as well. So
yeah, well,
not on your own.
Yeah, and please do get in touch with anything else.
Thank you.
No worries.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Thanks.
cheers. Thanks very much.
There you go. Okay, item 11. Ratified decision. Okay, item 11, to ratify a decision to allow two councillors to sign a S106 agreement with respect to Cross Farm in accordance with standing orders.
Yeah, Chairman, just around about the time of the last council meeting, just before I think, it was required that the 106 agreement, for those who don't know, is a part of a planning application. It's a condition which is attached. It usually means that the developer has to provide certain community benefits for the village as a sort of compensation, rather like paying for a roundabout or a traffic roundabout or a play area or something like this. And it's part of what we call a 106 agreement. And it has to be signed by the landowner, the developer and the local authority and the planning authority, which is Sedgwick in this case. We had one in force for originally when Cross Farm was started. We all signed the agreement and it needed an amendment for the new play area, which has gone up on the top. We were told in no uncertain terms, if we didn't sign this very quickly, it would have serious repercussions for the whole development. And so as a result, we were told by the legal department of Sedgwick, they had signed, the Tinkles had signed, the developers had signed, to extend the Parish Council. Our standing orders say that there has been agreement in place by the council for councillors to sign it. Two councillors. We obviously couldn't get a meeting in time to sort this out, so we took the decision that the chairman and Polly would sign the agreement. I witnessed it, and Sedgwick were quite satisfied with that. All they want is that that decision is ratified by the full council, which I hope everybody will agree with, and then tomorrow I will send them a copy of the minutes just to say it's been ratified, and then the whole thing is sorted. It's just a formality, really, I think.
Well, yeah, I propose that we ratify the decision that was made.
And I'll second that.
It was almost a merchant decision.
It was,
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue and Dennis. If anybody's happy with that, okay. Thank you. That's ratified.
Okay.
Good.
Obviously, item 13 is concluded. So 12. Sorry, yeah. Just to consider a proposed deed of grant with Blue Cedar Homes and allow drainage work to take place in the car park. Obviously, you've seen the email coming round. Basically, Blue Cedar have approached us with regard. Originally, they wanted to bring a sewer across the footpath down leading to the car park. So down the bottom of the Lurburn, where the column lighting is, there's a manhole in the Parish Council's land that they wanted to go across the footpath and connect in for the Holdenhurst development. and that was on the basis that they could go through one of the householders of the Lurburn through their garden and connect. I met and Rob met with Blue Cedar and okayed with some work that Blue Cedar were going to propose, do a bit of landscaping and one thing or another to the car park. Anyway, the landowner of the house in the Lurburn has said no, so they've now come back with another proposal which will mean going through a larger part of the car park. So where the raised barrier area is at the entrance to the car park from the Lurburn, they want to go through a couple of the parking bays, but it will also mean that the car park from that entrance will be closed, only via that entrance. So from the Cheddar Road you can still access and exit. Blue Cedar now have said, I've said obviously the inconvenience of doing such work. You've seen the email regarding Blue Cedar have come back with two proposals. One being £3,500 for them to organise the signage whilst the works are ongoing, and then £5,000 for us to organise signage and notify locals of what's going on. Now, I've had a brief chat with a local sign company. We're looking ballpark figure around about £500 for signage to notify everyone what's going on and that access will be closed. Really, it's entirely up to what we decide on, but I will need someone to manage the process, working with the contractors. They've assured me that it's going to take 2 weeks. I'd allow a month. As we've just heard from Ben, you know, the potential of going through various cables and what have you through the entrance to the car park is huge. There was a fencing contractor that got injured last year who went through a power cable that wasn't supposed to be there. Not on our grounds, but on a homeowner's land, putting in a fence. So I think we'd be prudent to allow a little bit longer for the time scale of the works. I don't know what's everyone's thoughts with either proposal.
Is this regarded as private land that they're going through though? I know it's the car park, but it's not highways. Is it?
No, it's PC land.
Yeah, so it's not highways.
No.
So this Chapter 8 stuff we're talking about won't be
doesn't apply.
So
it doesn't apply.
Then just a question of sorting out signage in
Yeah.
terms of cable strikes and whatever.
It will all be undertaken by.
It would be down to them anyway.
There's
really what you're saying is it's just a question of responsibility for looking after.
It just to liaise with the contractors with regards to timings, and then update. You know, we'll do it via the social, Facebook and whatever, and notify locals of the progress and just keeping everyone in the loop. Really. Signage, I can only look at probably 4 or 5 signs. One advance warning. We can put stuff in the local press, so Western Mercury, Cheddar Valley, and then some signage coming in from the Cheddar Road. That'll be the main access and exit for the car park.
Only access.
Yeah, the only. And then we'll have some signage at the top of the Lurburn, and then as you're entering into Worthington Close, so give people an opportunity to turn round and then go back up. So yeah, 4 or 5 signs I can, but communication is key with everyone to let them know what's going on.
The alternative is accept the 3,500.
Or yeah,
let them do the sign.
Or let them do the work and we just go for the 3,500.
But if so, whenever they're going to dig up the car park as such, are they?
Yeah.
I've never known a trench filled back in with tarmac. It always sinks back down. They put it too high. You want it back. And how long are they going to be responsible?
Well, this is one thing that we're going to write in with regard to similar to what GigaClear do with the highways. So they will be responsible for any future, and we'll put a time limit.
It does always look a bloody mess, doesn't it? When you've got, say, the tarmac's gone grey, then you've got black strips up through.
Yeah.
But
So
what,
make a legal agreement.
what
It's all
happens,
legal, there's a legal agreement for it.
what
so-
happens if, just say, we said no, like you're not putting this through?
The sewerage company can actually compulsory do the work anyway.
So how much money can the council get out of them just to put? Can you get compensation off of them?
This is the 5,000. So as part of, say, well, it's 3,500 for them to, so we get a one-off payment of 3,500 to let them drag the trench through and connect the sewage, and they control all of the signage and letting people know. Or there's a one-off payment of 5,000 and we let them pull the trench through, connect up, and we control how we notify people.
Yeah. And then who pays for, like, is it on the deeds for the ground and way leaves and all this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
So all that legally?
It's all covered by
There will be a legal agreement which we'll have to sign with them.
Yeah.
They've agreed.
But they'll pay
our
they'll
legal
pay.
costs.
Yeah,
They've agreed to pay our legal
they'll
costs.
pay all costs.
Where does it take place?
Well, until we've agreed on our course of action,
Then we'll go.
then we'll they want to do it this summer.
They could have gone through the garden, they could have just said, like a compulsory purchase thing,
Yeah.
so we're going through the garden, but to save the animosity with the neighbours, they're doing a roundabout tour.
So for the first option, can they take as long as they want to do it? Or
No,
if we had control over it, would
we
it be
could,
quicker?
you know, if we wanted to be particularly difficult, we could go, right, we'll allow you a month, and then any time over, we'll put a penalty clause on it. We could.
Did you say in the summer, and then you've got street fair, and then obviously the harvest home, and so obviously we'd be wanting as much space in that car park as possible
You're
for
going to
those
lose
events.
about half a dozen spaces.
Yeah,
That's all, just a bit round the bottom
It's just,
of the barrier.
just inside the barrier.
There was obviously something going on in the village today. I went into parking there at 12:30 and there was no spaces.
Well, there's quite a big funeral at the cemetery, it might have been
I
that.
assume that, well, I assumed that's what it
Following on from that,
unfortunately, but
will there be a pedestrian access? Because it's
Not through,
Not for
well,
now.
then that's pretty dangerous out on
It
that
is.
road, isn't it? That is, because there's no pavement on either side where the fir trees are.
We'd asked them to
I'm sure that footpath.
they'll go across the footpath, but there'll be barriers there to allow just to get
Still
inside
getting the word loop, you know.
in via there. So that'll be the first element of the works goes
Yeah.
across the footpath.
So
So
that's the little laneway that goes up and
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
out the other side.
yeah,
Because that's the worst bit though, isn't it? When they come out on the corner, is what I'm saying, if, you know, whichever way it is, that there's no pavement or room for any pavement, is there, opposite the vicarage wall?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
No, they should be able to use the footpath, the existing footpath down into the Lurburn,
Oh, can we make
where the
sure
lights
we
are.
can?
yeah.
That should be kept clear.
Well,
They can barrier it
they
off,
can.
yeah. They can barrier that off, yeah. Once they've gone across the footpath, which they'll have to at some stage,
Yeah, I see. No, yeah, that's what I was saying, it's
I think that can be managed, really.
Yeah. Fair play to them going through because there's high voltage and everything right there. Looking at the services drawing, there's disused sewers, there's quite a lot of stuff. So that's why I've tentatively said allow a month as opposed to a fortnight. Yes.
So we stand to make.
So going on that, so it's either 3,500 or 5,000. 5,000.
3.5 plus the signs, so we stand to make about 800 to £1,000 if we do it an extra ourselves.
Yep.
because by the time we pay the signage, then you put the adverts into the papers we have to pay to put them into. And then they go over.
Rather than putting adverts in, I'll just ring the local
just tell
reporters and
them-
do it as
Oh, okay.
public service
Yeah, oh,
as
okay.
opposed to paying for any adverts. Basically, all we're looking at is possibly doing flyers via Sophie in the papers, which I don't know what Sophie charges now, but surely as public service she might be a bit favourable, and then the signage. So for around about £500 for the signs.
Okay.
But on the back of that, thinking on my feet, perhaps we could use the signs future for the road closures and the diversion signs. So, you know, it might be...
Yeah, be careful with the wording. They can be reused for harvesting.
Or, you know, and the other closures, so...
Yeah.
So we're talking about buying the signs rather than hiring them off, yeah.
They'll be specific to what we need, won't they? So, yeah. So the metal frames, you know, the road, metal frame road signs, yeah.
Well, yeah.
So, proposal?
£5,000. Go for the hire.
Propose the hire. Second, Polly.
Okay. Any other proposal?
Anybody willing to take it on?
That'll be the next thing. If anyone's prepared to just look into it, I can give contact details for the signage, and then we can liaise via Rod for Blue Cedar as well. Don't say now, but have a think.
You need
We need the dates, and then we can, you know, gauge what holidays and as Nandy said, you know, people being away.
You need to know when they want to start.
Yeah, so once we've got dates off of these guys, then we can. But have a little think. I can't do it, unfortunately. I'm not local during the day, so I can't put my hand up for that. But have another little think, okay? If you want to respond to Blue Cedar, and we can. On that basis, we can get some dates what they're looking at, bearing in mind the street fair and the Harvest Stone.
Yeah. So, could possibly be two councillors who wanted to
either or, yeah, either or. It's, you know, it's not a one person job. You know, it's really, yeah, just liaising with the ground workers. It's and just generally updating with Joe for the Facebook and just getting the word out there what's going on really.
I think I mentioned to you, I'd be happy to help a bit.
Yeah, okay.
My problem is I've got quite a lot on with the SIG.
Which is
and also I have another holiday in August. I mean, if somebody else can take the lead, I mean...
Well, I think that's the problem with August, isn't it, really? Because
exactly.
Most of us will probably have a
We need to find out
long weekend.
Let's get some dates, and then we can get an email trail out and look at...
Yeah, because as I responded to you, I think we could probably weave in the community bus drivers, you know, they're there every day. So
it's just really, you know, just being proactive, checking signage, making sure barriers are up, you know, nothing happens overnight, and just making it safe for, as the car park does get used, just making it safe for everyone. That's really,
because we'll be communicating with our passengers anyway, because some do just rock up at the bus on a 9 o'clock and hop on, so we'll have to just make sure that they're all aware as well. So yeah, I think we could just, a couple of groups can work together.
We manage it effectively, it should be fine, you know, it's, okay, alright.
Should we put one of those in the notice board? What was called that?
Okay.
Bring it home then.
Alright.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Item 14. Receive an update on any green issues.
Oh, okay, yes. The first thing is there's a report called the Zero Carbon Audit, which was just about finalised. It's about 65 pages long. We're waiting for an executive summary, which covered the whole of what is existing in terms of renewables. I think the three elements were covered: transport, energy, and I can't remember the third one at the moment. Power. Thank you. And the conclusions from the report is the energy efficiency key, which is going to be the report. More renewables are needed, transport solutions are needed, and the notion that Wedmore can achieve zero carbon is something that they're very keen on. The next step is to build an action plan and launch Wedmore Climate Summit later in the year. Green Wedmore are currently fundraising for batteries for the solar on the bowls and tennis club. And I think Sonia is probably the lead on fundraising for that, Sonia Bedford. Steve Muse has asked about the land near the car park for woodland tree planting. There was a name for that little part, I don't know what it is, I can't remember.
It's Worthington Close, but...
That's it, Worthington Close. It can be used for food forest or something. Warmer Wedmore, you probably know about that because you were at the meeting. and a new group called Somerset Climate Action Network has been started, and it has some very key players in South West. Steve News, Stuart Croker, you might know him as the chairman of the Avalon Community Group. Nick Pyatt, I think it was, that's wrong. He's a sustainability leader for large international organisations. Cara Naden, who was instrumental in the Green Charter for Langport, which I'm going to present at the next meeting for people to look at. And Sonia Bedford, who's amongst other things, she's just received the MBE for her work on renewable energy. The last thing is just to let you know that there are 4 refilling stations in Wedmore for people that want to get bottled water rather than buying a bottle of single-use plastic. And there's an app called the Refill app, where when you're anywhere in the country, if you want to get more water rather than buying a bottle of it, you can just see this place and they will allow you, they'll be more than grateful to let you top up their bottle, which was something we were quite keen to do. And that's the Coffee, Cake and Curtains, Wedmore Village Stores, and the George is something they do. It might be nice to mix that in with any tourist aspects of I don't know what media is out there for tourists in the area to know that they can do that. In September, Jake Taylor from the Volunteer and Trails Officer for Somerset County Council is doing a presentation on pathways and how anybody in Wedmore can help to adopt a path, monitor a path.
Is he definitely coming?
He was always, no, he was never coming to the other meetings. I mean,
yeah, no, because I've been told he was coming to June, and then I was told he wasn't coming to June.
No, somebody, I was coordinating, somebody said he was coming to June, but it didn't go through me because he couldn't make it, and he was sick. Jake Taylor. So he's coming in September. He's agreed to that. Yeah.
Cool.
That's it. Thank you.
And just going off the back of that, we'll go regarding the car park and Warmer Wedmore and what have you. So Warmer Wedmore is something that I mentioned a few months ago about insulation for houses within the village. So we're just working with Steve and a few others on starting with the council housing or the housing association properties first. So that's something we're looking into and hopefully put some money towards and get it up and running. So it's still in its infancy at the moment, so it's just trying to work out what housing associations own what properties within the village or in the parish. So there's a number of different HAs, so that's something that's ongoing. Anyway, thanks Sean. What's
quite interesting about that though is that the whole study is based on quite a lot of presumptions. I think last time we were talking about trying to find more information about the community, well, and it would be quite good in the long term whether there could be some sort of way of getting some better information from people. I mean, I know it's difficult to, but it's data that helps construct them really.
I think Vanessa's already working on
yes,
that.
Facebook. There's a Facebook plea for people, anybody who's got anything renewable or even if they're not sure, just to get in touch so that we can register started.
Vanessa's doing a great work there.
There's lots of information on energy rating, about a home's energy rating when you sell your house now, isn't there? So in the details. So there's a lot of that information already out there on places like Zoopla. If you've sold your house in the last so many years, I mean obviously if you've lived in your house for 30 years, you won't have that information.
He's covered that repository of information as well, yes. Yeah, but there's still a lot out there that nobody knows anything about. I mean, we are getting a drone, and you can actually just use Google Maps and see solar panels on roofs, so you can sort of take quite a good estimate from that. But it's not, as Andy was pointing out, it's never to be 100%.
No, but
maybe leaflets might even knock door to door, who knows?
To get involved with.
I mean, I'm kind of switched on to passive houses, as you probably know. And I was asked to do a presentation to the local architects in the village. So I did it there, like 15 of them, and they really didn't know a lot about passive houses, but they couldn't believe that we don't ever have any heating on.
Yes.
Our houses are 22 degrees all year.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it's the way to do
New
it.
houses should.
New houses should all
automatically.
be.
Well, a lot of this warmer Wedmore was brought on from my visit to your property, Dennis, so that's why I've tried to get, start. So, hey, let's go with it anyway. So.
If you're trying to create a database, could you not put something in the Isle of Wedmore News asking for people to email in?
Absolutely, yes. That was, I'll speak to Liz, who's our sort of media person, and absolutely that's a great idea.
And to put it in the Isle of Wedmore.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also the Isle of Wedmore website, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Rob, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Email him.
Rob Evans.
Rob Evans.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring that up and
Yeah, contact Rob Evans.
On the website.
Okay.
Do you want to pass over 15 for now?
Yes.
Yeah. Right, item 16. To consider merging 3 play area committees and decide a way forward. We've been toying with this for some time. New members probably not overly aware of what's going on with the play areas. Obviously got one in Field, Blackford, and a new one up at the Rec. The committee, I believe now for Blackford is disbanded. Field now, I think they've lost interest or members now, and Nick's not obviously involved. Wedmore, I'm on the periphery. There is a committee, but it's been sort of led dormant really since the new play area has been up and running. Now what I'd like to do, we've got a new play area that will be going in with the cross-farm development, and look to maybe put some money in a pot and form a new committee that will run and look after Blackford, Thiel and Wedmore play areas. With regards to putting new kit in, just doing a monthly inspection, and just making sure that we've got adequate play provision within the parish really. I think it's important that we allow for it. There's certainly money for it. There's a lot of RTL 2 and 3 money, which is the old developer money, still with Sedgemoor that needs to be allocated. So if anyone's prepared to put a proposal in for new kit, they will certainly look favourable on providing funds. I know Pete's going for it, but he's got to share the wealth, haven't we? So, what's everyone's thoughts with regard to, and really how we go about getting this new committee up and running, getting some names together? Let's say I was one of the ones with Glenys, and my wife and a few friends got together from the old play area in Wedmore and then formed the new one and got funds together. Once you get together, it's very easy to get money to come in for play space. I just wondered what people thought about getting some adverts out and see what the feedback. Your kids are slightly younger than mine, Polly. I don't know what the feedback is with the schools and stuff. Whether put up some notices.
What, to get a committee together?
Form a committee. There's already bank accounts set up, certainly for Wedmore and Blackford, and just amalgamate the 3 committees, or what was.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Amalgamating them, I think, is great.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're too small, I think, to operate on their own, really. Well, Theo, I mean,
they need updating, really. There's no play enjoyment.
And I think so for kids, it's just, it's I think it's essential to the sort of socialness of the place, really.
I mean, I'll happily get involved because I'm the lead into the money, and I sit on the grants committee. So I deal with those people all the time. So I'm quite happy to get involved. But it would be nice to get some members of the public, not just necessarily Parish Councillors.
PTAs. I've sort of still got links across 3 PTAs of the 3 so the first school, the middle school and the Kings, not the Kings kids going into these play areas, but also into Scouts guiding, and then, you know, trying to bring in the play groups as well. Obviously, depending on our successful potential adoption of the new parish councillor, they're very involved in the play group side of things as well. So I think, you know, there's enough links into the things that we do through those of us who've got children of those ages and younger. We could probably potentially pull together a committee reasonably quickly. You know, there's people now who've got a little bit fed up with PTA. Probably it's time for them to be looking. I mean, we know, for instance, Gemma Wilcox, she's now stood down as chair of Wedmore First School PTA.
Right.
But probably right for the picking for another committee.
Yeah, definitely.
No,
Gem.
But you know, there's enough people like Gemma around.
And we've got some.
I know that she is.
Jim lives opposite, doesn't he? He's got small kids. You know, maybe him and his wife might get involved in it somehow.
Could you put something in the Isle of Wedmore News?
Yeah. I didn't want to put anything in until we've discussed it, and
it's a great idea.
You know, certainly we can release some funds from the Parish Council. We have some money for that, but also there is quite a budget with the developer money for play equipment, and we've got some great contacts for these guys that work for the kit manufacturers. And there's some cracking bits of kit out there.
I've just taken my grandson and I think, wow.
It's some cracking bits of kit.
No, this was somewhere else in Lyme Regis actually, but I mean they had a boat, you know, it was like brilliant, you know.
Perhaps contractors who've gone through cables could put in a bit as a compensation.
There's an increasing trend with some of the kit being to be used by people who are retired or older or limited mobility. I was in Europe, I can't remember which city it was, and it was incredible just to see the kit designed for, there was one down in the south coast, and there was people walking their dogs, they tied the dogs up and they started doing these exercises.
The Wicksteed trim trail stuff.
And I don't know if that's been incorporated.
We've already looked at that as part of the
Apex Park in Burnham.
Wales has got it. They've got it. Wales has got it, by the Bowls pub in Wales.
We're hoping some of that will go up at by the mugger up at the wreck, because it's in the old playground.
So where the old playground was,
generational, that'd be great.
where the tug of war training kit is there in that strip of land, which was an idea a couple of years ago.
Possibly someone in the bowls club might want to
limbering up before they throw a few.
I
don't think that's what you call it. Anyway.
I think if this is going, when I say going public, we'll go public anyway, won't it? But it needs to, or try to anyway, to involve, if they're going to remain as 3 play areas, to try at least to give the public a chance in Blackford and Thiel to have a say.
Yeah, I want representatives from each ward.
Yeah.
So representatives from Thiel, Blackford, and Wedmore, and then everyone can fight for their position or you know, funding and do it as a collective. So you go to the RTL 3 fund at Sedgemoor and say Blackford needs 4 grand worth of kit, Thiel needs whatever, and Wedmore needs something else. Do a collective bid, and 20k lands on the mat, and you know there's 3 schemes that can be made better for the community. I think if you do it as a collective, as a grant, what would you say, Polly? From the grant's point of view, would that be looking proactive that we're concentrating on play space for the community as opposed?
They love it.
Well, no, that's yeah.
The officers down there, they're desperate to help you out with new kids. It's exactly what these funds are there for. So.
When I was in a remote part of Germany, in the tourist board there, they had cycle routes. One was to link up the swimming pools, and so that people could, families on a Sunday where everything closes generally on Sunday, there was all these families taking these routes going between the swimming pools. You had a ticket to get into each pool, but there was also one for playgrounds, and each playground had a different thing rather than the same kid in each one. So the idea that you could actually say, well, Blackford does that sort of thing, or this does swings, and so you've got you've also got people going further rather than just it being repeated in each one. And it was a great idea.
Yeah.
It was really clever.
You have to, with designing the play area, you have to have certain criteria with what you provide anyway. But going on what you just said about the trail, Adrian and myself have been looking at drawing up a cycle route to actually join all of these areas up anyway. So that it's something that we've been looking at in the background of maybe there's some money from Sustrans, isn't it? The cycle network, about whether they can put some money in, and but that's something that we were working on as part and parcel of it, really. So yeah,
great.
Polly, do you want to take a lead on this, or?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just because of all the stuff dealing with trying to get the cross-farm player
Tie-in, it'll be.
I've got a good relationship with the team down in Sedgemoor, so yeah, happily.
We've got maybe people matching. The number of councillors equals the number of parents, I think. You really need parents on board.
No, that's right. Well, I originally got involved with the play area, and I came to Mal at the time, who was chair, and as a parent, I wasn't on the council then, saying how disappointed I was with the facilities that the village provided for the children. At the time, my kids were only toddlers, and then that's when we took it on, and Glenys will back me up on that, and we got it done, Glenys, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
So moving from the city to the country, I noticed that in the city there's more parks, and when we moved to the outskirts of Wells, if there wasn't a playground, it wouldn't have been anywhere, because there's just narrow lanes with very high hedges, so you don't have that sort of communal space where you do in town. So that's when we joined the Coaxley Playground Committee, did an audit, and then realised they had to cut most of it out, and we needed another £15,000, which was a huge shock.
That's the trouble, yeah. There is an audit going to be done regarding Wedmore. There's some kit that we transferred into the new play area. Some of it's going rusty, but the manufacturer's actually coming back out to assess and put right at their cost if they're at fault with any manufacturing fault. So that's being dealt with separately anyway. So yeah. So Polly.
Yeah.
I'm Sean as well.
And Sean. Okay. Thank you.
Can I add this extra item, Chairman, before you move on?
Yes.
I've circulated details of Emily Mullen there, who lives in Blackford and is quite keen to come on the Parish Council, it seems. And I'm just hoping that we can agree to co-opt her tonight and then welcome her at the next meeting in July. Everybody's happy with that. We've got one vacancy at Blackford still. We also have another vacancy at Field, which is still outstanding.
Well, I'd certainly be, I know her very well and her family, and I would, she's born locally, not in the parish of Wedmore, but not very far outside. And she's 2 children, a young person, and she's got ideas. And I would be happy to propose that we adopt her if that's the situation.
I've already spoken to her about this.
Yeah.
She's really keen, and she's ideal.
I know her very well as well.
Do we have an idea of what she wants to get involved with committee-wise?
No, she said she don't want to
I read that.
Yeah, so I'll speak to her tomorrow. But it'd be nice to welcome her at Blackford, because the next meeting is at Blackford Village Hall.
And she actually lives in Blackford.
Ideal.
That sounds
So is that?
Thank you.
Is that?
Looks like it's all agreed, is it?
Agreed.
Super. Thank you.
All agreed?
Yeah, great.
Do you want to do the other little bits first, and then?
Yeah, we'll do the committee reports and then confidential correspondence. Oh no, sorry. Issues and questions.
I've got nothing. Do you want to? Anybody else looking to raise for next meeting?
Yeah, just I got my very first call from somebody in Field Village just about 6:30 this evening. I won't give any names, but they you might know something about this, Rod. You mentioned your name. It's an 85-year-old lady who lives in a council house that's I think run by Homes in Sedgemoor, and the new neighbour has bought the house next door and started to move the fence, got rid of the fence, got rid of the path in the lady's garden, and she's not getting much response from Sedgemoor. There is a planning application gone in and it shows an angle of the garden, but he says, no, I purchased that land when I bought the property. So he's actually just put a pole in the ground, and she's lived there 50 years. and they're getting concerned that they're not seeming to be getting through either to somebody called Dean Titchener, I think.
He's a planning officer.
Is he planning officer or? No,
yeah,
and he said he's supposed to turn up at a meeting but cancel and then cancel another meeting. So she's
I know
getting
nothing
very
about this lady, she hasn't spoken to me.
All right,
Polly.
right.
She should call me.
Oh yeah, because I said I don't know who to. I'm not on the planning, and that's
No,
first
you
one.
know that
So I've got some notes. So
Yeah, talk to me. Talk to me about
I'll
it.
deal with that one.
Okay.
Sorry, Sue, you got anything?
Oh yeah, I forgot to say, the chevrons
Yes.
up at Moldfield have gone up, and then there's a new one outside Ted's where someone parked their car on a hedge again. So very exciting. It's taken 2 years.
Chevrons were, sorry?
Chevrons up at Maltfield, so up going towards Blackford. So if you're coming in, there was a house on the right called the Retreat. It's had several cars smashed into its wall.
Actually.
Did I say Blackford?
Yeah.
I said actually, sorry, up at Maltfield. And yeah, several crashes there over the years. And it was 2 years ago, probably virtually today, that I saw someone up there and said, oh, you're going to put some signs up. We discussed it, yeah, after they've redressed the road. I mean, 2 years on, and they're up there. Bingo.
What up, Polly?
Well, no, just...
You're perseverant.
Sell a car to the hedge.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. It said rangy.
Still there.
Is it?
the right top of the way, yeah.
Right, Pete, anything?
Yeah, I just asked advice from the council because the phone's been going considering Quab Lane and this so-called gypsy encampment which has been approved or no, but there's the meeting is there tonight and I've got to go back and report of what
Some neighbours are having
what is, you know, what can I say to them, because the usual thing will be, well, the council won't do anything about it, they never, you know, it is a high issue. And I don't know what, you know, I'm just asking, what do I say to them?
I've talked to them all. They've heard from the horse's mouth what I know from the planning officer. So there's nothing you can say to them, Pete, other than them registering their objections and talking to the planning officer.
Right, no, I didn't have that information that you had even...
The legal position is that the owner of the land has made a planning application for in Quab Lane for a mobile home, a touring caravan and a day room and associated works. That's a planning application on the Sedgwell website, which this chap called Mr. Breaker has made. That's going to just...
Oh, sorry, I thought it was Brian Coombs.
No, it's not. He's a neighbour. That's been discussed at the Parish Council planning meeting on the 10th of July. And then Sedgwell will make a decision by the 22nd, I think it is. Now the enforcement, I understand that work's already begun up there. And the enforcement officer has been along, together with the planning officer, and they have said you've got to stop doing any further work until the planning application is sorted out. And that's where we are at the moment. So we're going to deal with the Parish Council at our next planning meeting, just make our comments, and then pass it on to Sedgwell.
No, it's just that, you know...
So you can tell them that that's what's...
Yeah, sure.
But is that 3 people at the moment who registered a complaint on the Sedgwell website? Only 3 residents in Quab Lane. 2 in Quab Lane and 1 somewhere else. So if anybody wants to complain, they get on the Sedgwell website and put their objection on there or support or whatever.
Do you want to give them the planning application number so you can give it to the people
It's
at the
64.
meeting?
All right, I'll write down for people. Yeah, I know the number offhand.
I know a lot of people are wary of registering on the websites because of the nature of the application and potentially travellers. But do you know what, if people have got a complaint and they want to moan, they've got to have the guts to put something up there if they're not happy, because they cannot moan and then do nothing about it. Because it'll have repercussions on, hopefully not, but they think it'll have repercussions, they think something will happen to them. But there are people who have already put things down and they've got the guts to do it. So if people are not happy, then they have to do it. If they don't do it, then they can't moan, in my opinion. So I've just told them all, you've got to put your objections down on the website and or speak to the planning officers. There's nothing else they can do currently.
And the planning officer is...
Adrian Noon. Mr. Noon, He's the planning officer at Sedgemoor.
Yeah. I mean, Peter Bird's leading a sort of charge.
Well, I've spoken to him and his wife for the last 3 days.
There's some meetings at his house tonight. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know really, I knew there was something going on there, but I didn't know what. And then all of a sudden,
We're all getting
I got,
excited.
you know, there ain't many residents in Stoughton, but I had 3 of them on the phone within 2 hours. Because obviously somebody said, well, we'll have a meeting tonight and see if we can, you know.
Well, it is quite interesting because I'm not one person phoned me about an application up at the school for 30 houses, but I can't tell you how many people have called me about this one thing. It's extraordinary.
Just because there's a fear that it's going to turn into something other.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's a mockery of the planning system. They've gone on and done the works because they've had good legal advice from someone who deals in this particularly. And so, you know, it does go within the planning law. You know, that there are exception sites that are either out of the village boundary, which are farming and travelling sites. So these people pretty much have jumped the gun because they think they're going to get out. I'm going to go meet them next week and talk to them.
Because this is what happened in Theale, of course.
But it doesn't mean they're all awful people. It doesn't mean it's going to expand. And actually people do have the right to live somewhere. And if they integrate into society or their kids go to the local schools and stuff, well, you know, but currently there's not much we can do until it's before us, unfortunately.
Well, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that I looked into what the planning, the Town and Country Planning Act said about travellers' sites. They do actually ban them in the green belt. It is actually in, and they don't encourage them in the green belt area. So I think that is something that you need to look at. I'm certainly going to look into it more, and when I register my objection, I'm going to quote their own planning act, the planning act.
That's all we can do.
That's all you can do, really.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Sean, anything else? No. Joe? No. Matt?
What's happening, or is it right, there's going to be a lorry parking unloading bay outside the shop?
No. I'll come to that in a minute. No. It's been suggested, so, but no. So, but I'll come into that regarding how highways following our meeting last week. So, right. Anything else, mate? Anything else?
Was it pub time?
Anything? Okay, Dennis? No? Hey? No. Okay, Paul? Okay, moving on for committee reports. Cemetery, Glenys?
Seems to be fine, I've got no complaints, it seems to work out then.
I was down there the other day.
Yeah,
Needs a bit of weeding on there, thing. And it's nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. Facilities allotments and footpaths.
The vacant allotments are being trimmed tomorrow. I've had one request for somebody wants to rent them, so that's good. And also the car park, Lee Field, at the back of Worthy Close, that's being mown tomorrow as well. It's up knee high in nettles. Sorry, neck high in nettles.
So when do the committees meet?
Sorry?
When do the committees
Committees, reports, when do the committees meet?
We haven't had any yet. So whenever you feel that you want to raise an item for that specific subject,
Oh,
so
okay.
we can, finance only meet once a year.
Yeah, and I understand about the planning one regularly, and I know you sort of have called a highways one, but I just didn't, I haven't understood it about these other ones
We
at
haven't had
all.
allotments meeting for 3 years.
Yeah, and that's not a good
Yes,
thing.
so that's not,
No, it's not, no.
Because we haven't got a chairman of the allotments committee at the moment either. So.
oh, okay,
So one needs to be called, and a meeting needs to be called.
Yes, because I have had somebody mention to me about the allotments had some manure delivered, and it was delivered literally outside, obviously almost opposite the fence near the back door of the residence. of Mendip View, and it's rather stinky for a few weeks. So obviously the homeowners have asked that next time there's a delivery of manure, could the allotment people, whether they've all paid for that to be delivered, could they have it delivered slightly further away than they
something
have
that the
been?
PC's organised.
We don't organise that.
No, so
but
that
they've
would
done
be
it.
the allotment group.
Yep.
So, so obviously then it's getting them to understand who they need to speak to. Is there a committee that the allotment, all the people who have an allotment, do they have a little committee meeting? You know, it's just getting people
I've
to
actually,
understanding and transparency so people know who to go to.
Several months ago, I actually emailed Trevor Prideaux with regards to the fact that we're having new members join the council, and the particular member that stepped down was the chair of the allotments, so it was an ideal time for them to get together, as in the allotment owners or people that tenants that work there, to get together and have a meeting with the allotment PC rep. So that I'm awaiting Trevor's response. So we did communicate, and I said June, July, whilst the new members are bedded in, the new committee can be formed, and you can.
Okay.
Are you putting your hand up to become the?
Yeah.
Because the way you're sounding
yeah,
here is.
that's fine. Yeah, no, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I know Judy,
I chose.
Judy Candy's very interesting.
Speak with Rod
and particularly to go on.
speak with Rod, and then get an allotment.
We need an agenda. We need to talk about something.
Okay.
It's not having a meeting for the sake of having a meeting. You know. So we've got something called an agenda. That's
Manure delivery. There's your first item.
Yeah, keeping an annual.
That's the polite term for it.
Annual maintenance schedule.
Yes, well, yeah, 'cause somebody then at the Scout camp came up and then sort of apologised to me that their allotment was a mess, and it's sort of, well, not gone up there yet. Just because I was on the parish council.
Form an agenda with Rod.
Okay.
And then call a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then Rob can advertise it. And then Trevor and the tenants then can come along.
I've never had an allotment, but my son had one in Bath, and they had a requirement to keep it to a certain standard.
Yes.
And then they did come round and check whoever was responsible. Because
we have the same, but it's just a question. We haven't got time to go and check all the allotments, unfortunately.
Is there a notice board for the allotment?
There is a notice.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
And they should all be numbered as well. I've got some new numbers in my office, but some numbers have fallen off over the
Right. Finance and general purposes.
No, nothing till December.
Housing.
Nothing at the moment.
Nothing at the moment, Paulisa.
No, not any what I filled you in on.
Okay. Highways, car park and brook.
I don't know if it's too early in the year, but Blackford Brook is,
I've noticed
is a mess at the moment. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And up in behind, from where the Beecham's live, that bit between there and where it comes out, where the old village hall was, I mean, that's really, it is badly, not only weeded, there's all sorts of bits have come down in, several bits of building have been done. I know it's not always our responsibility, but I could do with some sort of walk or some sort of...
All right, okay. Who generally does the maintenance for that then?
Session.
It is Session.
Yeah.
Is there any elements that we're responsible for?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
No,
I'm not.
There's a Rivers man who's responsible for it. Richard, somebody whose name escapes me.
Can we give him a
Richard?
Can we give him a nudge, or do we have to do a site audit, or take photos, or?
It just needs to, if something specific needs to.
Okay.
He'll send his team.
I mean, I'd be quite happy if it's to meet somebody there, because one or two people have brought it to my attention, and it's quite obvious when you're where it runs the sides of the road there.
Well, if I get a hold of Richard Dunn and give him your phone number,
yeah,
and sort of liaison,
be quite,
yeah.
Well, is it highways who clear the kind of storm drains on the roads?
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah, okay, because there are a couple I know. The one down the road from me, just on Coombatch, on the curve there. I'm only trying to put sticks through it the other day. They're blocked, and there's one up on Sand Road.
I get Will to do it normally. He does the ones on the Blackford Road.
Okay, well, a couple.
You can see Highway's not going to do it.
Yeah, they need doing.
What we have done previously is councillors or members were responsible, well not responsible for rodding the drains, but certainly keeping an eye out in and around their properties or a stretch, just to look at, see what needs doing. The highways have no regular schedule for emptying any of the gullies now, so it's all done on an ad hoc and reported basis. So
they're pretty good. If we got a full one, they're pretty good.
They will, won't they? Yeah. If it's reported, they'll come out and do it, but they need to be told. So.
Got mine.
Okay,
I'll
Good. Let me know where they are.
we had no broadband for 2 days, so I got him emptying the drains.
So, with regard to highways, due to some homeowners emailing in, we met with Catherine Tyson, who is the road engineer for the Somerset, the county highways, and feeding off of what Matt said. We did a walk around the village on Thursday, potentially, well, just looking at the areas that we all know the village is congested. We need an effective traffic management plan in place. So under Catherine's suggestions, we've looked at the possibility of the passing places, certainly down through the borough, and the corners of the junction of Church Street and the borough, of putting yellow lines around. Making the disabled bay a permanent and enforceable bay. You may recall that we've already got some enforceable bays opposite the church, opposite St Mary's, and then it was a suggestion of putting a loading bay in between the village shop and what used to be the old junk shop. It was only a suggestion, and due to some feedback from members of the parish, it's thought that we probably wouldn't go ahead with the loading bay, but certainly some yellow lines outside of or opposite the George, the passing place there, which would be opposite outside the junk shop, to stop people parking there basically. We're not going to flood the road network with yellow lines, but just in areas that we really need the areas freeing up, and give people a bit of a nudge. No one takes any notice of the white hatching that has been put on the highway. It's not enforceable, so people do their own thing. Yellow lines, people take a bit more notice, and it is enforceable. We're not going to have a parking attendant coming around every half hour, but certainly there'll be the village will be put onto the areas ticketing, or the people that inspect the yellow lines and what have you. So there could be tickets being dealt to people that infringe the yellow lines. So
is there a qualifying sign on the thing to say when those times are applicable, like Monday to Friday?
Yellow lines, there aren't, never.
With the yellow.
Yeah, with the yellows, usually says it's
there will be with the disabled bay, but we felt that with the other yellow lines that we're just going to suck it and see for now. We didn't want to plague the village with loads of signage, and it really just as an advisory, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
are we going to have double yellows?
yes. Yeah.
Can I suggest you having double yellow lines, you put curb yellow lines on the curbs, because otherwise you're going to disable drivers are entitled to park on a double yellow line for up to 3 hours with their badge. But if there's a curb marking about every 10 yards or whatever it is, they're not allowed to park on those. So otherwise you're going to get, I can see you've got streams of disabled drivers parking there.
I'm just relying on Catherine's advice really, but also there was the property opposite the village shop was hit several weeks ago by a truck, so we're also looking at the potential of putting some bollards in on both corners at the bottom of Church Street, stop people mounting the pavement. There are certain regulations with that, so county highways are looking into the regs, but just to stop people, just giving them a nudge really of their responsibilities in trying to not park willy-nilly as they seem to be doing at the moment. So we'll watch this space. But there is a highways meeting on the 3rd of July. So by then, the highways engineer will have some drawings in place with the proposals, and then we can take those proposals back to the next PC meeting in July.
Is there a potential for this new traffic enforcement to coincide with the works in the car park?
There is surface dressing Church Street scheduled in for the end of July.
Surface dressing?
Yeah.
So,
Putting stones down on the road. So we were
that's
hopefully
kind of like tarmac and roadworks.
Yeah. So we were hopefully tying the
Yeah.
lines in for Church Street at that time.
So if you've got that going up Church Street, and then you've got the enforcements going
This
in,
will all
and
tie
then
in with.
the car park potentially limited accessibility and action.
We won't do all of one.
No, I'm just checking.
Yeah, that's fine.
How everything will, because he's using the same months, July, August, and if it all overlaps, you will get a lot of feedback.
Yeah, no, it's
A lot of feedback.
I mean, we didn't know anything about the resurfacing the redressing until we were walking up there. I'm pretty sure Church Street is going to be redressed, and it would be really clever to tie it in. We're like, yes, it really would. So
yeah.
The rest of the village, we don't know when they're going to do it currently, but Church Street, they are
So that's redressing it and then putting the new lines down, and then obviously the new lines down, it's like, well, we'd like you to go and park in the proper borough car park, we'd like you to go and park in the village car park, and then well, actually I can't get the village car park because it's all dug up.
It's not really stopping people parking, it's stopping people, lorries and stuff, being on the corners, people stopping on the corners.
People be a bit more aware of what they're doing.
I fully understand and appreciate what we're trying to achieve and why we're trying to achieve it. I'm just sort of saying, it's, you've got to sort of manage your sort of, what we're trying to, I mean, people are all up in arms about all the roadworks happening simultaneously from Giggaclear, Drewsbury, Water, everybody, and then the developments all going on. And we're just going to, if the Parish Council add to that and do more of the same.
Which is why I wanted an effective management plan of what we're going to be doing with the car park, why it needs to be managed. That is the whole.
Yes,
because I know the feedback will come back.
Oh yeah.
Let's manage our way out of it as opposed to.
Yes, so that's just that we're all clear. That's what we're doing. Yeah. Okay.
In your discussions with Catherine, was there any mention like 20 miles an hour speed limits in the village?
Currently not, no, and we've fed back with regard to our proposal with the SIDs anyway, and looking at, she's going to come back to us with, once we've got our info, then we can look at what else we can do really. There's choices of speed tables and all manner of stuff if we wanted to do stuff on the outskirts of the village, so.
It was encouraging though, wasn't it? It was a good walk around.
Really good, yeah.
She was really helpful. So it just kind of gives us a good feeling like things are going to change. We can get really good improvements happening finally.
Who's this walk around with?
Catherine Tyson, she's
traffic engineer, highways engineer. Yeah.
Right.
I haven't never met her, but I think I communicated with her on this.
Very good, very good. Yeah. So see where we were coming from. As I said, we don't want to plague the whole village with. Lines and whatever, but in specific pinch points where we all know
we need them.
We need them to people just a bit of education. That's all it is. So what's currently in situ is not working.
No.
So we have to do something about it. So and then going on to the car park. I've instructed Benjamin and Beecham to look at enlarging, going with regard to the neighbourhood plan, creating some additional car parking spaces. I was hoping to have a drawing by tonight, but they're still making it pretty. So potentially we could be looking at another 35 spaces for the car park, so in the land behind Worthington Close, which will then tie in with what I spoke to the Green Group about, maybe creating a a wooded area or green space or quiet space or wherever, what we think to be doing with it. As part of the car park enlargement, we'll be looking at car charging points, and also I spoke to Vanessa about a water station down there. So people park down there, at least they can water their dogs or whatever, you know, they do. So that's something that we'll look at as part of the car park expansion. So potentially we could develop the whole area, which would be potentially 70 plus spaces, or go for the smaller, which is just the additional 35. Scheme on paper looks really good.
I had two people request secure parking for bicycles.
Yes.
At the moment they're bollards and you just lift it. You can't really secure it on a pole. So they're looking at the ones where they loop into the ground, especially as people now have electric bikes that might be worth £3,000 or £4,000. So that might be help as well, especially if you're talking about maybe routes between the villages to secure.
Yeah, there are some bike couple outside the George.
There's a couple outside.
But are they the type that...
They're in the ground, yeah.
They're in the
Pumpkin.
loops, alright. They said they didn't see any at all.
Yes.
There are, yeah.
And there's bike racks by Pumpkin, opposite Pumpkin.
Yeah.
But also tied in with the car park works, looking at the CCTV as well. So more of a security. Yeah, I've done the charging point.
Okay.
Yes. Listen, please.
Where is this then?
So if as you're going in from the Lurburn, go through the raised bollard or barrier. If you look directly to your right, you'll see a wooden gate.
Oh, right. That one. Yeah.
That goes all the way around behind Worthington Close to the side of the sewage
Parish
works.
Council own that field.
The Parish Council own all of that. So basically where the ground, and you'll see after it's mown tomorrow how large the area is. It's about 2.2 acres, I think, something like that.
It's quite a
Oh, okay.
They don't want it there. It's okay for the car park there.
So yeah, so initially it'll be the straight area of ground, and then it just fans out into a bowl. So with that there'll be access created from the track, pedestrian bridge or something, so there'll be 2 points of access. So that's what we're looking at. So that'll be in for the agenda for next month, to just have a look at the drawings and get people's feedback really. So, but it is in the neighbourhood plan that we've got to increase some car parking. So with what we're doing with the lining, this will all tie in. So we're trying to reduce certain areas of people parking. You know, we've got to create some additional space for them to park. So it'll all tie in a roundabout way. That's the general.
Very nice.
That's the idea. Right? Right. Moving on. Planning.
next meeting on the 10th of July. We've got 4 applications in already. I'm expecting some more.
Reports from reps, Isle of Wedmore news.
Yeah, it's fine, we've got the AGM coming up sometime in July. Can't remember exactly when, but yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Play areas, we know. Selk.
No, nothing.
Playing fields management.
Laura's gone.
No,
I think she's gone to Harvest Home meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she did say she was going.
Well, it's all going okay, I believe, up there. So,
No, it's up the yesterday, Grace Park.
village rules. Nothing from Suzanne.
No.
Twinning, nothing from Judy.
No.
Masters report and items for next meeting. Nothing from me currently.
Nothing big, Chairman.
Right. Members, anything?
There's actually something about 2 things. Having a brief look at the Green Charter, which was written by Langford, and it's a starting point to see what they have adopted there from Langford Town Council, as well as some terminology on how we describe sustainability. I mean, immediately in the last, well, I think CANS has come about as a result of what the Climate Action Network Group for Somerset has come about as a result of so many of these authorities saying that it's now a climate emergency. But what does that mean? What do you said it's an emergency? What do you do then? And in light of recent news, it then might be useful to make sure that the terminology we use is correct. Things like climate emergency has changed from climate change. Climate heating is another one, which is just, I just read in the paper today, that's being used rather than just climate warming. So it's just when we talk about it, we're not ambiguous about sustainability. Can be, everybody in this room will get a different definition of sustainability. I'm not sure we'll still get one, even after I've suggested what other people have been using. But it's something to focus our minds, I think.
Okay.